So you remember the other day, well, a little while ago, I did a video. I said, hey, the good guys actually won one, kind of, regarding the NDAA, that little provision about indefinite detention of American citizens. A judge said that is against the Constitution, so that section does not count. I'm going to have to retract my whole video of what I said of the good guys got it one on that, won a point on that one. Nope. Obama wins right to indefinitely detain Americans under NDAA, which is the National Defense Authorization Act that he signed last year. A lone appeals judge bowed down to the Obama administration late Monday and reauthorized the White House's ability to indefinitely detain American citizens without charge or due process of law. No judge, no jury, no nothing. Last week, a federal judge ruled that a temporary injunction on Section 1021 of the National Defense Authorization Act for fiscal year 2012 must be made permanent, essentially barring the White House from ever enforcing a clause in the NDAA that can let them put any citizen behind bars indefinitely over mere allegations of terrorist associations. On Monday, the U.S. Justice Department asked for an emergency stay on that order, and hours later, U.S. Court of Appeals for the Second Circuit Judge Raymond Lawyer, L-O-H-I-E-R, agreed to intervene and place a hold on the injunction. The stay will remain in effect until at least September 28th, when a 3-judge appeals court panel is expected to begin addressing the issue. And I hope to God it's thrown out as far as you can't use that section. You can't detain Americans. The Constitution protects them. Anybody that is a leader, congressman, senator, Supreme Court, the justice system in general, the presidency, the whole shebang up there at the top, if there is any individual that you ever see who has power, which all of those people would, who sidestep the Constitution to implement a plan or rule of law that tells you your Constitution, a very specific and important part of your Constitution, which allows every American citizen, which is why it's so great to be an American citizen, the right to have a fair trial, and if you choose to have a jury trial, you can also have a jury trial. That's why the Constitution was set up that way. So anybody that has power and decides to sidestep that side of things and wants to be able to detain people, citizens of America specifically, you ought to be extremely concerned about. And by chance, the Congress passed that NDAA Act, so they're to blame. So all those people who voted for those current Congress members, hey, sorry, they did this to you, and the president signed it into law. He could have vetoed it, but he didn't. Oh, well, he got handed a mess. He got handed a mess. What's he been doing with it? And was the National Defense Authorization Act in existence before Obama? No, it wasn't. During Obama's reign? Yep. That was just last December. So, he was even quoted as saying, matter of fact, I think it's in here. Let's go down to here. On December 31st, 2011, President Obama signed the NDAA into law, even though he insisted on accompanying that authorization with a statement explaining his hesitance to essentially eliminate habeas corpus for the American people. And habeas corpus is what I just explained about being able to have a fair trial, not being able to be picked up off the street. It also has to do with the military taking over in America, which is not allowed to happen, etc. Quote, "The fact that I support this bill as a whole does not mean I agree with everything in it. In particular, I have signed this bill despite having serious reservations with certain provisions that regulate the detention, interrogation, and prosecution of suspected terrorists. Nice choice of words. You should have just said what the act says. That includes you, America, American citizens. When he uses the word suspected terrorist, he's talking about you if you stand up and fight anything that they want to do. If they sidestep the Constitution, you want to protest, boom, you're a terrorist. Detain indefinitely. Oh, you don't like how we just created an executive order against the will of the people that give us more power that the Constitution says we don't have, and we didn't even need Congress to decide because we just wrote an executive order today? You're a terrorist. Why? Because I said so. And that's what the language inside all of these acts, including the Patriot Act, say. Someone from the Obama administration just needs to deem you some way, somehow, helping, abetting, working with, helping Al-Qaeda terrorist motives, and you are done. You could be sitting home watching TV. Knock on the door. Secret Service is there. FBI is there. Come with us. Do you have a warrant? Don't need a warrant. What do you mean you don't need a warrant? We are here under the National Defense Authorization Act and the Patriot Act, which gives us the right to come right in here because you're being suspected of terrorist activity. Really? What have I been doing? You've been writing things about the government that's not good about the government on Facebook. You gonna call the police? Hey, these guys got more authority than the police, man. Come on. They're there. And then they whisk you away. No one knows anything. You're gone. Maybe your wife, whoever knows about it and decides to tell somebody. Hey, they just showed up and took my husband now. The mainstream media is not going to report on it. You know, you're going to have to call Alex Jones, the conspiracy guy, of course, who's doing a great contribution to society with the things he awakens people to. And that's going to be your only avenue. And you know they'll shut him down eventually. Then what? Who's going to hear you? Nobody's going to hear you. So it's either the Nazi way, which is the current regime, that's where we're heading. Just like in Nazi Germany, the same thing. It's our way, and if you disagree, you're in big trouble. Real big trouble. Well, I guess I better agree. I can't wait for the day to come. I can't wait for the day to come when this is so obvious to everybody in America that, oh my God, we didn't know this was happening. We didn't see it. It's here now. All the laws have been changed. All the laws have been passed that needed to pass to subvert the whole Constitution. Right underneath my nose. I didn't know it. Oh my God, it's here. And I'm frightened. I can't wait for that day. Because when I start to talk to all these people I've always talked with in my life, friends, family, etc., I'm quite certain at one point or another, they've all said to me, at one time or another, you know, you don't have to live in the country. You can always leave the country if you don't like it here. I can't wait. I'm foaming at the mouth, so to speak, to use those same words. Can't find a job? You know, if you don't like it here, you can go somewhere else, another country. What's that? You don't like these checkpoints on the street corners being randomly searched without your permission, without doing anything wrong? You don't like that? If you don't like the country, you could leave. What's that? They came into your house without a warrant just because, and then they laughed at you because they knew they could do it and there's nothing you could do and you're pissed off? If you don't like it, you could move. There's a lot of other countries you could go to. Can't wait to use those words.